would never want to take the mask off because whether they did it or whether it was released,
Going
they're saying they
live.
want the Great Reset to collapse the world economy to bring in a world government. And I can show you the clips.
Right, but who is they? When you say they,
Klaus Schwab of the Davos Group, Bill Gates of Microsoft.
Why does Bill Gates want the world to be one government? Why does he? Why would
Bill Gates is on record wanting a global medical system, and he's been thrown out of 22 countries. Trying to take their medical systems over.
Really?
Absolutely.
22 countries?
Keep right.
Yeah, he's been thrown out.
See, I don't know if that's true or not true, but...
Well, remember I was on your show.
Yes.
I talked about his vaccine's the main cause of polio, and I pulled up Associated Press.
Well, was that his vaccine that did that, that polio vaccine?
The UN, yeah.
What's that?
Keep left,
he's funding the main program in the UN that's doing that. Yes, but okay. But here's the deal. So, and then they said Joe Rogan let him put fake things out, saying 80% in his Moderna test got sick. I sent you the clip. He put it out. It got 4 million plus views, and he did say that.
He did say that.
The side effects for the Moderna vaccine sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect, ranging from severe chills to fevers.
They're showing Bill Gates right now.
Safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators.
Keep left, and then turn
left. This, if they stick with that, is very very appropriate. And you know, the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. They, you know, Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, so you know, to get the antibodies. Some of the other vaccines are able to go.
Bill Gates talking about vaccines on the Alex Jones podcast with Joe Rogan.
And the Pfizer, and so there's a lot of characteristics of these vaccines. It's great that we have multiple of them that are going out there. And yes, I think
you know the data.
Hey, is that Chris Schroeder?
But
Shout out to Mr. Schroeder. This is me sitting here doing my recovery from my stroke. Figured I'd get a what do you call it, American Truck Simulator, drive across the country. Makes me practice me talking after the stroke. So you're wondering what the hell am I doing? Broadcasting live from a truck. This is why. It's nice to relax, good hand-eye coordination, and I can sit and just talk to the ether, even if there's nobody out there.
You don't have side effects. You know, if we have
and while I'm here on the radio, I pull up podcast, and this one was Alex Jones talking to Joe Rogan, which you think about that, that's probably a crazy combination. So
ranges, you know, pregnant, male, female.
Hope you're doing well, Mr. Schroeder.
Existing comorbidities. It's very, very hard, and that actual decision of, okay, let's go and give this vaccine to the entire world, governments will have to be involved because there will be some risk and indemnification needed before that can be decided.
Going from Nevada to Utah.
They got sick for a couple of days.
80%.
Hauling
80%.
bananas,
that's exactly
I think.
what you said on the show, and this is
tens
like,
of thousands of
there's
bananas.
a middle ground to be had here, and this is what's really important. There's people that dismiss all conspiracy theories.
Well,
as being
thanks, Chris.
nonsense.
Appreciate it,
And
man.
then there's people
Hope you
that
guys are
think
doing
that
good. Hope you have a
anything that happens
nice
is part of a
Christmas.
conspiracy.
They think everything's fake.
Yes.
And I agree. I believe dinosaurs are real. I believe in the space program, but I also love Eddie Bravo and his questioning. So I understand. What I'm saying is I'm different in that when I get into issues, when I'm being serious, you can differ on my interpretation, but if I'm saying I've got a clip or I've got something, I've got
Well, that's why I
Yeah, it's about a 2 or 3 hour podcast.
You did a great job.
There's a couple. I mean, Alex Jones has been on Joe Rogan's podcast for several hours recently. Almost got Rogan thrown off the air. And then Rogan actually went on Alex Jones's
I was doing
podcast.
Sober October, so I couldn't drink, and then you drank. Like, if you're ever drunk and you're around a bunch
Couple of
of sober people, you
nutcases,
feel like
but
a fucking
when you're traveling through New Mexico at night, hauling bananas, something to listen to, huh?
You were in agony.
I was in agony. So
Yeah, toothaches or they say it like decreases your strength. Like if like a friend of mine had an abscess and he had to get his tooth pulled, and he was explaining to me, he goes, he tried working out with the abscess. He goes,
I just added a new mod to the game called
like they've done weird studies.
a winter mod. So when you're driving, you can go with light winter, heavy winter. They actually have a physics module that'll make you slide like crazy on this crazy snow and
I'm learning something new.
The claim was that it boosted.
there you go. See me trying to figure out a word. Snow and sleep. There you go. See me flipping up with words every once in a while. But the doctor's telling me after probably about 3 to 6 months, that's going to go completely away.
But I think it puts you into the reptilian brain. I don't mean like David, like literally, we do have a brain that's very similar to crocodile brain or lower brain.
Anyway, this is played on Steam. You just do a Steam download, right? And
is that a real thing when they say your reptilian brain? I mean, I know it's a metaphor.
do Steam and download ATS, American Truck Simulator.
Homo sapien sapien has one of the most complex brains other than a beluga whale or a dolphin that even bigger. 4 pieces. But I mean, if you go through, I think we've got like 7 pieces. They've got 8 or 9 depending on the species of whale. And so it's like multiple brains are developing. And if you look at I'm not a brain scientist. I've had them on the show. You've had them on. But the lower brain and the brainstem is basically identical to a crocodile brain. And that's where killing people's at and being able to take bullet holes and keep fighting, or when a woman picks a car up off her kid.
Do they know that that's like literally the spot and that it operates the same way a crocodile does? Or
Absolutely.
It looks like it?
No, I mean, it's very similar to one, and it operates just the same way. It's fight, it's flight, it's eat, it's
It's so weird.
Shades
It's so weird.
And it's the lower brain driving everything. It's like, at the end of the day, it's the one like...
Yeah. Well, I don't know how the brain works, but I do know that there's parts of the brain that people reach, like in dark moments. If there's a physical altercation or if someone they love is in danger, there's weird places that people reach. And a friend of mine, Steve Ranella, was on my podcast, and he and his whole crew had gotten attacked by a grizzly bear. Well, a brown bear, I should say, because it was in Alaska, which there were...
Kodiak.
Yeah, well, it wasn't Kodiak. It was another island that's...
but is the brown the bigger one? They call it grizzly? And,
Well, it's really kind of the same species. It's just the diet's different. The grizzly bear is an interior animal, and so that's an animal that's eating like elk and moose and deer. They're harder to catch, so you don't get as much. But the brown bear are living near salmon, and salmon literally die in the river. And these bears are eating massive quantities of salmon before they die, or excuse me, before they hibernate. So these are enormous.
That's why Kodiak's bigger.
They're way bigger. Their diet's better. Their diet is filled with protein. They're just eating dead fish all day. They're catching fish, and then they're eating the dead ones that
videos where they
spawn.
put their mouth out and the fish like jump.
They just catch them and eat them, and each salmon's, they're dealing with like 20-pound salmon and shit. They're eating these massive salmon, and they're just eating them all day long. It's amazing. It's like nature has this weird way of figuring out how to keep something from overbreeding. There's so many salmon still. Imagine how many fucking salmon there would be if there was no bears. If there was no bears and there was no fishermen, there'd be so many salmon. It would be bonkers. There would be no stopping.
So it's that natural balance.
Yeah, there's a natural balance. But anyway, he got attacked by a brown bear. And in the moment, he said there was a place that his brain went to. It's like that you could say it's the reptilian part of the brain, but it's like literally like the shock of the thing, of the experience happening, puts your brain in a state that you weren't even aware your brain can go to. And maybe he didn't handle it the way he wished
on we
he
go.
did. He was talking about how he kind of felt frozen because this thing literally was gnashing its teeth 18 inches from his head. It's running down this hill and gnashing its teeth
I don't know
right
how
here.
I'm gonna get the hell out of here.
It's 11-foot tall bear, roughly. Huge bear. It had tried to claim their elk. They had shot an elk. It was a Fognac Island.
No, that elk's mine.
That's how I'm gonna get out.
His explaining of
Nobody
that
coming.
was like the best that anybody's ever explained to me about what that part of the brain is capable of doing. That it goes to some weird place.
Absolutely. Joe Rogan is here with us in studio in Austin, Texas. You're watching on the internet at band.video and Infowars.com because YouTube has said I can do interviews on other shows, but I am not allowed to be on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere else. But but we are here at man.video and Infowars.com, still fighting and getting the word out. Joe Rogan's here with us. Now, let me do this. Let me do this because you've given me a lot of great UFC tickets, been really nice to me for 20 plus years, and I've never really gotten you anything. And I've seen people give you gifts on the show, usually some PR thing that they're selling. I don't own any stock in this. It's a great rifle. I really enjoy it. And so this is something where you can go get 4 or 5 grizzly bears.
That's so Texas.
Grizzly bears at the same time.
What are these rounds?
Guys, bring the rifle in here. So this is your gift, along with that box of cigars.
Thank you very much.
Now this is my rifle, and it became my favorite gun the last year.
Oh no!
They can shoot bullseye at 400 yards all day long.
Is this a setup? Are you trying to give me a rifle you whack somebody with?
No.
I'm gonna find it.
We
in
do
my
have
garage.
a form later just to sign over that it's yours. Bring it in here. So and let's bring some of the magazines. Thank you, Tim.
He thinks
There you
he's
go. It's all
giving him
yours,
a
Joe.
rifle
Looks like a
that
real
he whacks
problem to
somebody
have.
with.
This
That's fun.
is the Petra 300 Win Mag. Best materials made in Montana, zero compromises. They're not a
Oh.
sponsor. I bought this gun about a year ago.
Come on, man.
And it holds
Get
like
back
10
on the
rounds.
highway,
You can
dumbass.
shoot 400 yards bullseye all day long with this baby.
That's so Texas.
It's all yours now.
Thank
buddy.
you very much.
Here you
Appreciate
go.
it.
Here's a bunch
Thanks.
of. Check it out. And I'm telling you, this is the gun you want to take with you. 'Cause I know you hunt elk and stuff. So
I generally use a bow and arrow.
I know. I bow one too,
But I
you
hear
don't come with a bow and arrow, huh?
I think I made a decision recently to stop buying domestic pork. I
So much
very
fall off.
rarely, especially here. I'm like, while I'm here, like they want you to kill the pigs.
I've
they
got a
actually
little
have
farm
to.
just outside Austin that has over 50 pigs every night on the deer food. So if you get any of them you want, you can have.
It's a crazy place, like Texas, in regards to wild
Go
feral
straight
hogs.
on.
It's really wild.
Go
You
what?
Pick up the rifle and try it out. I mean, don't shoot it.
Try it out.
I think I have to turn left, don't I?
Let's
And
just
then
put it
turn
away.
left.
I know what a rifle is.
I'm
I
gonna
got a
turn
bunch of
left.
them. How Texas is this? Look at this.
Turn
This is
left.
how America thinks of the world. They meet, they give each other weapon.
That's right. You get your weapon.
Is that
I brought
racist?
this to you, though.
Sorry.
No, for your defense of the First Amendment. I loved it when you had
Thank
the
you.
Twitter CEO on.
Well, the First Amendment is very important, as is the Second
New
Amendment.
Mexico.
It's amazing how
I'm
those
going
dudes
from,
who started this country hundreds of years
New
ago,
Mexico
they
to
figured out some just key patterns of behavior that human beings
Going from
follow into,
New
and they
Mexico
decided to try to protect them
to
from those. They understood
Utah.
that there's going to be people that
Yeah,
want
Utah.
you disarmed.
All right,
changes
just
who
trying
you
to figure
are.
out where I'm going.
You know, it makes you more
That's
fearful,
Joe
makes you
Rogan
more
and
the government.
Alex Jones in the background on the
It
radio.
doesn't mean you support mass
So,
shootings. It
hey,
doesn't
it's
mean
Miss
you
Andra
support
Sean.
murder. It
Hey,
doesn't
Ann,
mean
how are you
support
doing?
gang violence. That's not what it means.
Thank you
And
for dropping
they
in.
conflate those things together. as
What
if,
I'm doing
you know,
is
good,
recovering from
you
a
know,
stroke.
a firearm.
I don't know
There's
if
a
you
lot of
saw
people out
my
there who are alive right now because
saw
they
my
own a
post
firearm
from a
and
couple of
they
weeks
protect
ago.
their
I had a
loved
stroke,
ones.
and
Even if people have done
while I'm
terrible things like
relaxing,
we have, it doesn't
excuse me,
discount
you'll see me
the
stutter
fact
just a
that
little
people
bit. They
should
tell me in
be
about
able to
3 to 6 months, most of that
themselves
is
and
going to go
have
away.
protected
But anyway,
themselves
So
from
somebody's bad behavior.
I have found a way to
doesn't
sit
take away
and
your
relax,
rights.
It's
Somebody else
exactly.
runs
It is a
talk,
problem.
right.
It is a problem,
make
but the
make
solution
myself
is not a fucking
talk a
giant
little bit, and
eraser
also
that gets
do
rid of an amendment. That's not what it should be.
a little bit of
The
hand-eye
solution is
coordination.
figuring
So
out how to
Turn
stop
right.
I
people
picked up
from
this
ever getting to the position where they would want to kill people.
picked up
It's
this
always those
what do
nerdy
you call it?
incels that do.
It's not always. Like sometimes
Almost
it's
always.
people that are
Picked up
medicated.
this
Sometimes it's people that have brain
American
injuries.
It's
truck
usually
simulator.
Kind of a
Sometimes.
black trench coat mafia.
Bro,
That
those
kinda
fucking
makes
kids
me,
get tortured.
How do you say?
I couldn't imagine being.
Makes
like,
me,
I remember watching that movie. There was a documentary on Columbine.
Giving
And
good
I
hand-eye
was watching those kids. I was like, can you imagine
coordination.
getting to
Yep,
the point
coordination.
where you just wanted to go to school to kill everyone.
And
It's a heinous thing
Just
to
crazy.
do. It's a horrible thing to do. But
anyway, that's what I'm
what
doing.
the fuck happened to those kids?
Well, they were also both on
Yes.
antipsychotics,
Yes.
which on the inserts after that they had to admit can cause you to not have the restraint you would have before. It gets rid of the governor.
Yes. It does something different to everybody's brain. It's also part of the problem. Like,
Yeah, for
it
most
might
people
not
it's
work,
not bad, but for
right.
a few percentages, it's
Right.
It boosts their. Yeah.
And I've had friends that get on SSRIs or antidepressants, and a lot of them, it saved their lives. It's made them a better, happier person. They needed to get over a hump. They needed to find a way out of a real dark place that they were in. But they'll tell you, the doctors will tell you, like, we're going to try different medications on
It's
you.
an experiment.
They want to find out which one works. They know it's not exact in terms like, oh, you're Alex Jones, you got your DNA, we sequenced it, now we know that you will interface absolutely 100% with this particular medication. But then they go to, but you, Joe Rogan, you have different DNA, we're going to need this one. They don't have it that dialed in yet, but they have it dialed in to a point where with some people, 2 of my very good friends, changed their life and saved
Sure.
them.
It's just that in a lot of cases, they play down the side.
And then
But
turn
some
right.
side effects, there's different people with different side effects, you know, and some people
and
are
mixing
capable.
it with things.
And cocaine. You know, there's a lot of people that say that mixing it with cocaine turns you psychotic.
right.
Or
Phil
if you
Hartman's
drink on,
wife.
say, Xanax, it's not an
Turn
It's
right.
terrible for you. And a lot of people do it. It's terrible for you. They
Ouch.
say, don't drink on this. People are like, yeah, okay. And they drink on it. You know, there was a lady on an airplane. I don't remember where this came from, or where the flight was, rather. But there's a lady on an airplane. She was just like, as long as I got a Xanax and a glass of wine, I'm fine for this flight. She was already like a little tipsy. And she was just admitting she's going to drink alcohol and take Xanax on this plane. And everybody was laughing like, ha, 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 ha. Everybody thought it was funny. But for her, maybe it's a good combo. For me, maybe I'd be clawing at the pilot door saying, there's a man on the wing of this plane. It's different for everybody.
Absolutely.
The same with pot. You know, I've been more and more open over the last few years, especially to recognizing that pot's not always safe. And I don't think it's a good idea to tell everybody it's always safe.
Well, they've made it so strong that it's definitely been connected to increases in schizophrenia. I have known
But I
people-
don't know if it's from the a potency perspective. I think maybe it's always happened, and we just didn't
Well, all
recognize
I
it
know
because
is
it wasn't
I know
legal.
2 people personally who were normal and started smoking a lot of pot and went crazy.
I do as well, including edibles. I know people that
2 of them worked here. One of them started thinking that everyone was reptiles. That's David Icke's thing. We weren't doing saying that. Okay.
That's David Icke's thing.
And then another guy thought I killed his dad, who'd never met, that had like a heart attack in another state. And I mean, and that was all the marijuana. And then I learned later that they're off just completely nuts.
Yeah,
Like just
schizophrenia is
bonker
real,
town, man.
Schizophrenia is real, and marijuana-induced schizophrenia seems to be something that happens in a certain percentage of the people. Alex Berenson, former writer of the New York Times, who was on my podcast, had a debate about this with a Dr. Mike Hart from Canada, who's a cannabis doctor, prescribes cannabis to a lot of patients. And I was in agreement with him. I was like, he's not saying that pot is bad, but we can't just like be totally biased for
It's
pot.
nature. It's
You
perfect.
can't do it that way
So's
because
heroin. Heroin's for me.
so strychnine, right? So's a lot of toxic
Let me ask you this.
substances.
Tell me about your friends without saying names. What happened to them?
They went crazy. They thought that everybody's out to get them. They thought that the government's watching them. They thought like it's been more than 2. It's been one that came back, one that got really wacky, and then he
Keep
came
right,
back and he just
and then
stopped smoking
turn
pot.
right.
You know, marijuana's in the hallucinogen class. Sorry. No.
Well, the thing is, at the right dosages, under the right conditions, it's a hallucinogen. And anybody who doesn't think that it is needs to take an
Turn
edible
right.
and get in an isolation tank. It becomes a very, very, very potent hallucinogen. It's like akin to, at large doses specifically of like edibles, it's like a lot of like hardcore psychedelics.
And by the way, you're taking us there. We're not on a schedule. It's my next thing. But you're saying it like you're psychic here.